Hey guys, welcome back to War Thunder and welcome to one of the fastest videos in the game, one of the fastest commentaries, because we only have 7 minutes to cover the techniques used in this here match. Slitsvan 81, the 6.7 premium British, is the tank that we're using. We're not going to die with it, we're going to get a total of 10 kills, and we're going to do a very controversial tactic. Berlin, one of my favorite maps in the game, however, this is a double capture point Berlin, which is one of the type of matches I don't like. I'm a fan of single caps and I'm a fan of triple caps, meaning Alpha or Alpha, Bravo and Charlie. However, with just Alpha and Bravo present, it's a different type of capture point. In order to capture Bravo, we have to sit in there for quite a good extended time. For a single tank to capture a enemy, I call these the spawn points, or you can call them a double point, it takes minutes. And I mean, it would probably take me longer to capture Bravo here than to do what I'm about to do. And this would be a problem not just because it would take the time, it doesn't reward anything. Capturing a capture point only gives rewards in the case you actually captured the capture point. So what can happen is you can sit in the capture point from the very start up until the very last tick, and then somebody else comes by, you get shot, you die, and somebody on your team is going to, well, basically rip the rewards, which is why I'm not going to go for the capture point, and in fact, you don't have to go for the capture points. In the case of double caps, I really like to think of the game as a complete deathmatch, meaning that the team that's going to win is the one that first eliminates all the enemy players, in the unlikelihood that one of the enemy players decides to either camp, hide somewhere, or spawn in a plane and run away, which means that you can't effectively win the match by killing them, then of course you are forced to go into capturing Bravo to win the match the kind of game objective way. But to do War Thunder efficiently, to grind, and be it, we're playing a premium tank here, so the intent for most players that are still researching and probably purchase this is to, well, get as many kills as quickly as possible and win the match and do the whole thing, rinse and repeat over and over again as much as possible. To do this, the technique I'm going to use is called pushing the spawn. Not spawn camping, pushing the spawn. The reason I say this is because there's a very big difference between pushing towards the enemy kind of core. You have to understand that the spawn point of the enemy team is their livelihood. If you're able to take over, that means that the enemy team cannot effectively spawn back in, which means that, you know, effectively how quick you're able to do it, you can win the match for your team insanely fast. However, spawn camping, as the phrase that people so despise, is in fact when a player, a single player, in this case it could be me, deliberately drives all the way around the side of the map, spends a lot of time to do so, gets into the enemy spawn, and then just sits there trying to feed off of easy kills. I'm not doing that. I'm doing what I can to eliminate as many players as quickly as possible. The first kill that I initially thought was a T-44 is actually a T-54, but albeit we're mounted with a APDS shell, which means not a big deal to take out. And then I engage a tank that I think not a lot of people know is one of the biggest problems for the Russian tech tree. There's a lot of talk about the ZSU-57, but there's no tank between the ZSU-37 and the ZSU-57, effectively resolving in the Russian team for SPAAs as their efficient backup after they get taken out first, having nothing to spawn in. The 4.7 to 7.7 gap in the Russian SPAA lineup is one of the worst in the game. And yes, it is a big problem because the ZSU-37 is going to be presenting 50% of all kills that I get in this match. Now, this is where I stop. I did not want to proceed further into the enemy capture point for the sake of this resolving in a spawn camping. However, a quick look at the map will very quickly incite that 50% of the map is already taking complete control by our team, meaning that, well, the enemy ZSU-37s are now spawning in rapidly as the only available tank that they can actually take, and there's no way they can pen me from the front, resolves in what at this point is not spawn camping anymore, but really just pushing the capture point, trying to eliminate the remaining enemy players as fast as possible. The enemy team is done. The enemy team got taken out faster than they can spawn back in, and the vehicles that were spawning back in were, not able to actually provide any kind of backup. And so this is why I say when you're looking at battle ratings and when you're looking at scenarios on the map, tactics, please do take into consideration not just the tanks themselves, but the lineups. Because whilst something like the IS-6, and I've talked about this on my streams a lot, the IS-6 is a brilliant tank. And in a 7.0 lineup, it might be the best heavy tank, but it can never have the best SPA to support it. It can never have the best plane to support it. In that regard, the IS-6, I think, might be one of the worst heavy tanks at 7.7 because whilst it does the job itself, it can't do the job after it's been taken out. And so now I'm actually proceeding into the spawn camping. This is what spawn camping is, for those of you interested. Moving into the capture point directly and taking out whatever remaining players there are. And ironically enough, there's a player doing something I like to refer to as reverse spawn camping. There's a ZSU-37 sitting in their spawn, waiting for me to kill me. However, the team's now pushed onto the spawn point. This is the last remaining player of the team. I just completed an objective. I don't know why the objective was there, but I'll take the 68,000 Silver Lions and eliminate the last remaining player for a 10-kill, 7-minute win match. And to wrap this around back to what I said at the start of the video, it is important to understand how effective grinding works. It's not about just winning matches or just doing a lot of damage. It's about doing that all together in a very fast-paced K. So if I'm able to do this kind of match over and over again, I know this is statistically a very rare scenario. This was a very good match. I'm not going to say that every match I play with the STRV or British 7.0 is going to end like this, but if I was able to keep the standard of such a match as well as the speed at which we're able to win, you can effectively grind out, the tanks that you're trying to do, or spade something if it is that you're not playing the STRV that is a premium already unlocked. You can do it at a pace probably a good 30% faster. As for the food of thought of today's video, really it is all about the spawn camping and spawn pushing. The main difference between the two is that spawn pushing occurs when one team has pretty much won the map. They have the capture points, they have the vehicles, they have the superiority, but the enemy players are still spawning in a couple of SPAs, so you basically push the spawn in order to win the match as fast as possible to maximize activity and of course maximize gain of RP. The spawn camp here, well, usually happens when a player with low self-esteem goes around the entire side of the map to then sit in the enemy spawn point to get a couple of easy frags, contributing nothing to their team, nothing to the enemy team, and usually losing the match regardless.